What's going on, fellow A pluses? It's your boy Adam Perez. I'm back once again with a brand new video today as we're set to go ahead and tackle Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith as we go ahead and highlight the 20th anniversary for the ending of this prequel trilogy, if you will, as it has officially been re-released in theaters. I'm not sure exactly how many days, but they did re-release it as of April 25th. You may have the weekend, maybe even Monday, to certainly go ahead and catch this movie in theaters. And considering the fact that we are celebrating the 20th anniversary, anytime we celebrate an anniversary for any Star Wars film, if it's re-released on theaters, I'm usually going to try and be there because sometimes it's been a minute since I've either watched it myself or I've seen it or experienced it on the big screen. And look, this movie was 20 years ago. There may be some of you out there who missed this movie in theaters, and this is your first time experiencing Revenge of the Sith on the big screen. If so, definitely go ahead and do so. Maybe you're like myself. Maybe you were there premiere night in line for the midnight showing for Revenge of the Sith, seen it for the first time 20 years ago. If I can age myself a little bit, this may be the second or third time I've had the opportunity to see it on the big screen, and it was well worth it. So go ahead and celebrate Star Wars. Enjoy Revenge of the Sith, the 20th anniversary, re-released in theaters. For me, when I first watched it, just some backstory, this was very much a core memory of mine. Even though I went to all the midnight showings during my college years for episodes 1, episodes 2, Episode 3 was a little bit more special for me because I got the opportunity to experience it with my little brother for the first time. I think this might have been his first sort of midnight premiere to anything, and us waiting in line, even though we had our tickets, this was way before pre-ordered seats. When you can order your seats wherever you want to sit and show up at any particular point in time, you can get your tickets, but you still had to show up on time in order to guarantee yourself a really good seat. So you wanted to get there early. I don't remember what time we got there, maybe like 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. And we literally stood out there all day. My little brother got to experience people doing lightsaber battles in the parking lot. We used to have people that pulled their cars up backwards into the parking spots. They would open it up. They either have music playing or they have like these small screen televisions playing the previous movies out of the backs of their cars, people talking Star Wars the entire time, books being passed around. I mean, it was an event. It was an event. Oh, to be in the early 2000s again, man, because you just don't experience stuff like that anymore. This was a core memory for myself and my little brother, and Revenge of the Sith will always have a great place in my heart. But I had the opportunity to see it again this weekend, and I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about it and give my thoughts and review on this film. First off, there's nothing like seeing a Star Wars movie on the big screen. I don't care how good your entertainment system is, certainly at home. Star Wars is just so fitting on the big screen. The people that were there for the 20th anniversary, we didn't have a lot of reciting the lines that I've seen from clips throughout social media and stuff, but there definitely were some moments of applause. Every now and then, a couple of line recitals, and believe it or not, when this movie was done, it did get a round of applause. There, people were certainly clapping at the end of this film, like we had seen it for the very first time in theaters. So it was really a fun experience to say the least. But this movie is still the best of the prequels. I think when we did our ranking here at APlus here report of Star Wars movies, I think it came in third place. I want to say Empire was 1, Return was 2, and then Revenge of the Sith was in fact 3. And it still holds that position for me, even though I think I might have put Rogue One at number 4 for me in my rankings. There is something about seeing the culmination of Anakin Skywalker's story, the betrayal, the incredible action, an amazing lightsaber battle, that still, despite I think Rogue One being a more, I want to say, competent, but like from a story directing point of view, Revenge of the Sith still just outweighs almost any other Star Wars movie that I've certainly have seen, with the exception of Return and Empire. And after watching it again, it really does kind of hold up after all these years. I mean, the intro alone to this movie is probably one of the best intros to a Star Wars movie ever. I mean, jumping straight into the battle above Coruscant. I love getting to follow the two starfighters, while you've got the great musical score attached to it with like the deep drums, and then starts getting into that rousing sort of score, but visually it's stunning. And then once they fly by the first starship and dive down, and you just see the vastness and like the scope of the battle that's going on, like cinematically and special effects wise, it is awe-inspiring. Like it is incredibly massive and incredible to certainly watch on the big screen. And it holds up, whether you just the small details that you continue to see every time you watch it, whether it's other star destroyers sort of being having moments of explosion, or the little bodies that are flying past the screen, or the starfighters when they zoom past these big explosions. The battle above Coruscant, visually, that just jump into a Star Wars movie, reminds you as to why it's Star Wars. There's battles going on in space, while there's drama and action and conflict going on the ground as well. And I thought this movie did a brilliant job of really like the first 10-15 minutes of it. I mean, you get the incredible daredevil move of them sweeping into the spaceship just in time before the airlocks close, Obi-Wan jumping out of a starfighter when activating his lightsaber. I mean, the whole sequence of them having to save Palpatine, and then even to the point of having to land this big ass ship, from beginning to end, from the very last line that Obi-Wan says, "Ah, yes, another perfect landing," or something like that, right? Or home sweet. I can't remember what the line that he gives. Towards the end, once they actually land it, but from beginning to that particular point, just intensity, and exhilarating sort of Star Wars action, with some great humorous moments in there as well, some great action. It's just a really great opening sequence to Revenge of the Sith. I think what this movie also does really well is the relationships are really great in here. These characters have finally sort of felt like they had their comfort moment with each other as actors. Ewan and Hayden, having spent time together in Attack of the Clones, taking whatever sort of creative criticisms they might have gotten from the Attack of the Clones, and built sort of that relationship with themselves, so that when they actually do get back to it, regardless of maybe how weak some of the dialogue and the script work from George Lucas might have been, they were able to certainly elevate some of that stuff and make it feel like, wow, they've really been through the ringer for years. Like, they definitely have that camaraderie and that chemistry with each other that's really charming, that's heartfelt. You can tell that they certainly trust each other in here, and the way that they like just deliver their lines, it just shows their growth, not as actors, but also working side by side one another. And it made their relationship be extremely believable, so that by the time you get to the end of this movie, it is heartbreaking. Like, you believe Ewan McGregor when he says, "I loved you, you were supposed to be the chosen one." Like when he breaks down at the end. And I even remember asking my brother, like, how did you like the movie? He's like, "I cried." I was like, "Me too, bro." Like, I literally had tears in my eyes when I watched it for the first time. But you can't get those emotional payoffs and moments if they still have that awkwardness or that stiffness to their performances, like you got in Attack of the Clones, compared to here in Revenge of the Sith, where they are just in step, in line with each other the entire way when it comes to their relationships. Even the moments of intensity when the deceit winds up happening, and the lies and the secrets of why they want him to be, why he has to be on the council, how the Jedi Council feels. Obi-Wan letting him know, "Hey, we need you to kind of spy on on Palpatine for us," sort of thing. all that stuff can't be performed well if your actors don't know each other well. And this was the first time that I felt very natural about the relationship, and it really sort of even paid off for me, honestly. And even the the Anakin and Padme stuff in here, there was always this sense when I watched this movie, like, man, I really wish that I had the opportunity to see more of these two together, in live action at least. Their relationship does build in an animation form on Clone Wars, but considering the fact that we see sort of the very brief beginnings of it at that very end of Attack of the Clones, and when we get there, they've already had these years of connection that we miss, and boom, she's kind of already she's already pregnant when we see them. So very much at the tail end, but the brief moments of closeness, I think George did a really good job of at least allowing us to see those in those moments away from the rest of the senators or the Jedi Order, for them to just emotionally connect with one another. There's still some dialogue that's a little bit cringy to me at times in here. Especially when he's looking at her on the balcony. One, the makeup job for Natalie Portman, I just cannot, like, who did her makeup that night? I just thought it was atrocious. And then she's like, "So love is blind?" And he's like, "Huh?" Like, no, that's not quite what I meant. It's like, I think that's what you meant, though. Like, it was cringy. It's cringy to me. But outside of that, I really did like seeing their relationship develop a little bit more in here. So I thought the relationships overall worked really well for this particular movie. And then the politics of it all continue to jump out at me sort of more and more, like the distrust that people have kind of garnered, the idea that the Republic has been at war for a very long time. The Jedi's mindset has become that of generals and people on the battlefield sort of thing, not so much like the peace givers that they certainly used to be, even though they're trying to balance that out. The questioning of the Emperor, in the sense of how long this guy has been in power for, and having to do the dirty work of spying on him and things like that. Like that just made this story so much more relevant to me, and more impactful, in the sense of this really coming down to the birth of the empire, and trying to see like the mistakes that are made, the distrust that happens in order for all of this to get to the point, and certainly where it's at, right? I mean, I think what's fascinating to me too when I watch this is just how quickly things wind up happening. Especially from the moment that Palpatine gets Anakin in his grasp as his new Sith in regards to Darth Vader. I mean, once that happens, the switch for Palpatine is like, we have to do this quick. I need you to go do this. I'm gonna make the announcement. I mean, then the clone troopers, boom, you switch on the Jedi in a heartbeat. Anakin killing the younglings and surprising everybody. I mean, everything has to happen like on time and very, very quickly. And I think it goes to show you like the impact of having loyalists around. It is very much all like an allegory, and how it kind of holds up to today, in a sense. Regardless of how you feel about like a current administration or whatever case may be, the fact that he has his loyalists, and the amount of stuff he's been able to do, whether you feel it's been good or bad, within the first 100 days of an administration sort of thing, it just goes to show you like, when you have loyalists at your side, people that are willing to do anything for you, the amount of things that can go really wrong, or happen in a very small period of time when you have that level of power at your will and at your disposal, I think really got brought to the forefront even more for me watching this particular movie at this particular point in time. It's really almost like George Lucas gave us like the blueprint of how to sort of like, what would happen if we gave up power, or what would happen if we're too blind to see what's kind of coming, and give up the democracy and the freedoms that we have just sort of willy-nilly, without asking sort of any questions or pushback sort of thing. And so to kind of see that all come to a front of the emperor finally having the last piece that he needs, and how quickly, once he's got that last piece, he starts making orders, in the sense of order 66, boom, execute it. Go over to the Jedi temple, start killing these people. We got to really start chopping them down at the knees so that we have no resistance whatsoever. It's just kind of crazy how it plays into how much of an allegory it certainly is to what's currently going on in society these days. So really astounding stuff, and I think that's one of the reasons why the politics of Star Wars really stand out even that much more for me in here. I mean, again, regardless if you want to apply it to this sort of level of administration that we're currently in, I think you can easily apply this to sort of any other government that has gone from a democracy or freedom to sort of the fascist ideals of the empire. It's just an allegory for history, I should certainly say, and it definitely comes full center. I think the cinematography and the shot selections, the lighting in this movie is absolutely brilliant. One of the things that I loved about this trilogy in general is Phantom Menace, very bright. Attack of the Clones, you have sort of like this sun setting kind of, what is that, the dusk, if you will, like a lot of oranges, a lot of yellows, almost like you're at the middle of the day, things are about to kind of end. And then when you get into something like Revenge of the Sith, it's very much a darker film in regards to how it's being filmed, it's shot. Very much the sun has kind of already set, and there's a great scene in here that's still one of my favorites, favorite moments in this entire movie, is the council room moment when Anakin's already revealed to Mace Windu. I think he's the Sith Lord, and Mace says, "I want you to stand behind. If you stay back, I'll gain your trust." And Anakin's moment when he's just in the council room by himself, I love the editing work of it going back and forth, not only to him, but also to Padme. And then the back and forth, the great ominous music that something is coming. And it almost feels like these two just feel each other kind of in the Force. Like they're almost speaking to each other through the Force without them actually verbalizing anything. Like you can almost feel like Padme feels the pain that Anakin is going through, and Anakin is giving off sort of this pain through the Force that maybe even Padme is feeling, in the sense of, what do I do in this moment? I clearly want to save my wife, but I also know that the Emperor is evil in here, and trying to kind of make heads or tails of everything. And just seeing him look out the window, that single tear that kind of rolls down. I think this was one of Hayden Christensen's most powerful performances in this entire trilogy, without necessarily even saying a word. I think Hayden Christensen, just from a physical and expressive standpoint, just really kills it, as, no pun intended, as Anakin Skywalker, and why I really love him certainly as this character. But from a cinematography, lighting, and editing point of view, that's easily one of my favorite moments in this entire movie. If I do have any cons, anything that kind of I gotta push back against after seeing it again, the dialogue still gets me at times. Some of the lines are just cringy in here, as I kind of mentioned before. The idea of Padme dying because she has no will to live, I will never understand that. There were literally some people in the theaters that chuckled when the robot came back and went to Obi-Wan and says, from a scientific and physical standpoint, she's healthy. But for some reason we can't explain, she's dying. People were like, like dying, because they realize how stupid of a concept this is, of her not having any will to live. I'm just thinking to myself, like, girl, you got 2 kids to live for, like, F this man. If this man wants to leave you alone, and you are a single woman, you are a former senator, if not still a senator, like, you got 2 kids worth living for, but she doesn't have the will to live anymore. It's just a really, really terrible decision on how to kill Padme off in that regards. And while I do think that this movie has the best performances out of the prequels. I think that's saying something. It's still lacking in regards to the directing job that George Lucas has of being able to truly get the best out of his performers. I mean, I think there are great moments in here, like when the performances need to be top notch, they're top notch. Whether that's arguments between Anakin and Obi-Wan when they're talking about having him spy on the Emperor, whether that's moments between Palpatine and Anakin when he's talking about and revealing himself to be the Dark Lord, or even talking about Darth Plagueis the Wise. Those moments really hit. All the stuff on Mustafar with Obi-Wan and Anakin, all those performances, when they need to deliver on those big moments, they do. But in between there are just moments like George just did a lot of this stuff on one take and was like, all right, let's move on to the next, instead of really getting out sort of the better performances. Like Samuel L. Jackson's an amazing actor, but I gotta say, I think a lot of his Star Wars stuff is just really piss poor, just really like underperformance. Although I did like him in this movie in the sense of, you can tell he does not trust Anakin at all, and he does not care about the resting bitch, the resting bitch face that he has half the time, and the eye rolls and the scowls that he winds up giving. I think those are some of Samuel L. Jackson's best moments, the pushback that he constantly gives Anakin in this movie. But other than that, I do think there's a lot of performances certainly still warranted, and I don't necessarily put that on at the feet of the actors, because we got Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor, Samuel L. Jackson. Like, we got some stellar performances and stellar actors in here. It really is up to the job of the director to certainly get the best out of them, and unfortunately George just was not capable of doing that. But action standpoint, incredible stuff. The lightsaber work in the very beginning against Count Dooku really worked for me. Getting the opportunity to see the battle again on the big screen really worked for me, whether that was Anakin coming through Mustafar and chopping down the Separatists. The battle, once again, if I do have any complaint about the battle though, it's the idea that I really wish that George had stayed on that battle the entire time. I mean, I do think that there is something about pacing in the sense of, like, you want people to know what's going on in that battle along with the other aspects of things as well, but I felt it kind of undercut a little bit the importance of the Obi-Wan and Anakin battle, and I really would have liked to have seen. But then again, look, you also had them intercutting between Yoda and Sidious, right? So we have like two epic battles currently going on at one time, but the greedy side of me just, even look, if I could have had like another 5 minutes of Obi-Wan and Anakin, I would take it in a heartbeat. Just seeing their masterful skills in here, their innovativeness, I really would have loved to have seen even more of that. But it continues to wow me. The Revenge of the Sith probably has some of the best lightsaber battles that we've seen in this entire trilogy, with the exception of maybe Obi-Wan and Maul and Qui-Gon sort of thing. But it's definitely up there, man. And I absolutely love this film. I continue to love this film. Very minimal cons, to certainly say the least, but impactful cons to be like, this movie could have even been better, which is crazy to me. But yeah, big fan of Revenge of the Sith. It'll definitely continue to be my number 3 of all time when it comes to Star Wars movies. But I want to know about you guys. One, have you had the opportunity to check out Revenge of the Sith in the big screen for this 20th anniversary? 2, are you like me? Can you age yourself? Were you there premiere night? I definitely want to know. And then 3, where do you rank Revenge of the Sith for you? And let me know some of your thoughts on the movies as well. But guys, at the end of the day, these are simply my A+ opinions. I want to know yours. But until next time, do me a big favor. As always, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. May the Force be with you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.